Hello and welcome to the Watering Hole. Thanks for checking out this clip. Don't forget to like and subscribe because that'll make the baby Jesus cry, and I know how much you guys love making the baby Jesus cry.
You don't need filet mignon.
Luigi Potter says, I listened to Crab Rave the moment I heard about Pat passing. Have you heard the story of how Pat Robertson got his name?
There's a story about how he got his name?
Yes, because Pat's not a boy's name, and his dad was, like, more conservative than he was. Like, his dad was a congressman who lobbied against ending segregation.
Jesus Christ.
So, like, the idea that such a man would name his son with a girl's name, a stereotypical girl's name, is kind of weird. So, like, the story of how he got his name, and it's like a 2-line story. And it's just the stupidest thing ever. And it's like, why would you name your kid because of this? It's because when he was born, his big brother, when he first met him, patted him on the cheek and said, Pat, Pat, Pat. So they were like,
sure? Are you sure it's not because he answered the phone saying, no, this is Patrick?
No, because his name isn't Patrick. It's just Pat.
That is unbelievably stupid, but also wholesome for a man who was such a monster in his lifetime.
Yeah, and coming from a dad who was such a monster. It was like he wasn't born in a vacuum.
No, everything about that. Jesus. Okay, then. Well, now I feel like we've slightly humanized the dude who was a couple steps left of Hitler.
We'll walk that back. Don't you worry about it.
Don't we worry about it? Okay.
Pat Robertson, the story of the hour.
Aww.
No, well, that's not the story of the hour. We're gonna get to Trump.
You think after like seven heart transplants, he would have realized God was calling his name?
So what I find most funny about this is that it's been less than 2 years since he said, God's going to give me another 29 years.
He thought he was going to live to 110 after, again, 7 heart transplants.
Is that an actual number? You're not exaggerating for effect?
Let me double check here. He has had a lot of heart surgeries. Let's see here. Because I remember there was a meme posted years ago that said that after so many heart transplants, you would realize that God was calling your name. I'm just trying to see like where the actual number came from. How many heart transplants? Not how many heart transplants has there been done. How many have there been done on Robert Pattinson?
Robert Pattinson. He's too young to have had so many heart transplants.
Pat Robertson. The names are flipped. They are flipped.
Yes, they are.
Medical science defying God. Woke.
Yeah, so anyways, I don't really want to dwell I don't want to read this whole article because, like, it gets weirdly, like, nostalgic almost for him at the end. And it's like, no. The dude was an evil fucking asshole. We don't need that. But it does, at the beginning, it kind of summarizes some of the heinous shit that he said. So he suggested that American sinfulness had brought on the September 11 terrorist attacks against the United States. Specifically, I believe it was lesbians and abortionists in that instance. It might have been gay people. I don't remember exact words he used, but you know, the usual suspects. It's their fault that 9/11 happened. The earthquake that devastated Haiti in 2010 was divine retribution for Haiti rebelling against France in 1804.
I mean, he's kind of one of the ones that have been famous for saying that the tornadoes blew up your house because you're gay.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that just was one of his main sticking points for years.
Yeah, but like that one is particularly weird for me. Like, God waited 200 years to punish Haiti for making a deal with the devil.
Yeah, he waited a long time.
What?
Because he wanted. Well, you got to remember, he's not above the children paying for the sins of the father. This is literally half of the plagues in Egypt affected the people who were not responsible for enslaving the Israelites more than the people who were responsible.
Well, yeah, and if we look at the Amalekite genocide, it was about 400 years since the Amalekites sinned against Israel.
Yeah,
that was the thing that he was punishing them for. So
this is on track.
So yeah, I guess that tracks. Liberal Protestants embodied the spirit of the Antichrist, and feminism drives women to witchcraft. He called for the assassination of Hugo Chavez, which, I mean, Hugo Chavez was not a great guy. But like, I might have on occasion said things like, "Oh, if only a meteor would strike a gathering of Republicans, that would just solve so many problems." But like, I'm not actively calling for people to assassinate them.
No, it's a very different scenario.
I wish heart attacks upon them, but I don't wish anyone to actually actively do them harm.
But if you wish heart attacks upon them, if you've seen Death Note,
he blamed the rise of Hitler on the gays.
What?
Yeah. He also, this isn't in the article, but he was the one, and I was taught this in my Christian high school, that this was a true thing that happened. What is, if you go to raves or nightclubs or gay bars or even just normal bars sometimes, gay people that are upset about having HIV will wear rings that they have like poked themselves with.
The rings that would make their blood flow and get cut so that they could get the blood all over your food and shit.
No. It's just like a ring with like a pin on it that you prick into yourself first, and then you're just going around the club and you like smack it into random people to give them HIV.
Yeah, I remember that.
I don't recall if it was Pat Robertson, but this sounds like the kind of thing that he would have said. But I remember there being something about, not trusting the towels in hotel rooms, because if a gay couple was using that towel first and they weren't washed properly, you might get the AIDS virus from them. So there was a lot of fear-mongering about AIDS from Pat Robertson.
I mean, the dude would have sucked Reagan's toes if he had the chance.
I mean, from what I've heard, Nancy Reagan would have sucked his dick, so...
I mean...
there was... Okay, so yeah, he went to Yale Law School. So this is bit of his sordid past. He went to Yale Law School, where he met a nursing student named Adelia Elmer. They secretly got married on August 27, 1954, and their first son, Timothy, was born 10 weeks later. That math doesn't add up for a good righteous Christian man.
No, it doesn't. But, it doesn't have to. The Lord intervened.
Yeah, no, well,
obviously.
If you like Pat would say, I never ever indicated that in the early part of my life I didn't sow some wild oats. I sowed plenty of them, but I also said that Jesus Christ came into my life, changed my life, and forgave me.
So Jesus Christ sowed some wild oats in him.
Mm-hmm. But it's always interesting to me that these people that are so adamant that everybody live up to their moral code that they did not live up to themselves, but they demand that we legislate that everybody else has to do it. But it's like, no, it's okay. It's okay because God forgave me. It's like, okay, well, why can't I ask forgiveness for it later?
That's not how that works. That's not how salvation works.
Yes, it is.
I actually had...
According to Christian theology, Jeffrey Dahmer's in heaven right now.
I was arguing with a Christian apologist on Twitter. Not a good idea. Don't do this.
I do.
I was arguing with one on Twitter, and I'd ask, like, hey, so I have a question. Do you believe once saved, always saved? Like, do you think that anything can make somebody lose their salvation? Yes. It is more often than not that I hear that you cannot lose your salvation than I hear somebody try to argue that you can lose your salvation.
Yeah, well, so if I can provide a bit of insight into this, when I was a Christian, I was kind of the opinion, I hadn't formed a solid opinion on it, but I was kind of leaning more towards the once saved, always saved thing, but not in the sense that, like, I've seen some atheists, we'll talk about once saved, always saved, like, oh, well, I was a Christian at one point, so according to that doctrine, I'm still going to heaven even though I'm an atheist now. No, that's not how it works. The way it works is that if you truly have an actual relationship with the Lord Jesus Christ, there's no way that you would ever just like turn around and be like, no, that guy doesn't exist anymore. Because think my partner, I truly have a relationship with her. Whatever may happen in the future, I'm never going to say she doesn't exist, because she just does. And I have a relationship with her. You guys on stream, you guys have never met her. You might think that I'm making this whole thing up. And I mean, well, she's right here. Once saved, always saved. Woot woot, I'm going to imaginary heaven. Yeah, she's in the chat, but maybe that's me just on a sock account. I'm not that good at multitasking.
He's dating Chat GPT, guys. He's dating Chat GPT.
Chat GPT doesn't give good enough hand jobs for that.
But it could.
Could it, though?
One day.
Yeah, one day, but today is not that day. But my point is,
today.
My point is,
the future.
Whatever may happen in the future, I am not going to suddenly decide that I don't believe that she even exists in the first place, because that would be stupid. So once saved, always saved. If you actually have a relationship with Jesus and it is everything that they believe it to be, then less than lucid Canadian girlfriend. Actually, she is Canadian citizen, but she grew up in the Cayman Islands, so.
My girlfriend who lives in Canada.
I mean, since I live in Canada too, is that really such a bad thing?
Okay, so
for me, it would be weirder if there was an American girlfriend.
It is the ideal for you, but Avenue Q is wonderful, and I'm gonna quote it anyway.
Okay, sure. Anyway, that was the main thing. I just wanted to talk about Pat Robertson. I just wanted to gloat at the fact that he is dead and reassure everybody that it is okay to be happy when horrible people whose lives make the world a worse place die. Because now the world is a better place because Pat Robertson is no longer in it.
I can agree with that.